For most bands, announcing a comeback tour is exciting news. For Rush fans, the 50-something tour feels almost impossible to believe. After 11 years away from the road, Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson are back performing Rush music again, this time with world-class drummer Anika Nilles helping bring the legendary catalog to life. The tour is expected to stretch deep into 2027, with reports showing dozens upon dozens of shows scheduled across North America, South America, and Europe. Some sources list as many as 88 concerts before the final curtain falls. That number raises a question many fans are afraid to ask. Can they actually survive it? Not emotionally, not musically, physically. Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson are both 72 years old. They may still play at an elite level, but this isn't a casual nostalgia tour. Rush songs are among the most demanding pieces of music ever performed on a rock stage. Night after night, Geddy must sing some of rock's most challenging vocal lines while playing complex bass parts. Alex must handle intricate guitar work that younger musicians often struggle to master. And Anika Nilles is stepping into perhaps the most difficult drumming role in rock history. The real challenge isn't playing one great show. It's doing it again tomorrow, and the next night, and the next city. Because when you look closer at this tour schedule, you begin to realize something shocking. The music might not be the hardest part. The biggest threat to the 50-something tour may not be the songs, it may be the miles. Rock history is filled with artists who discovered that touring is often harder than performing. A 2-hour concert is only a small part of the job. The real challenge happens before and after the lights go out. One day you're in Chicago, the next day you're flying to Dallas, then it's another flight, another hotel, another sound check, another stage. Sleep schedules get disrupted, time zones change, recovery time disappears. For musicians in their 20s, that schedule can be exhausting. For musicians in their 70s, it becomes a completely different test. Geddy Lee has openly discussed the physical demands of performing over the years. During Rush's final tours, fans noticed how much preparation was required to maintain the level of precision that Rush was famous for. Alex Lifeson has also faced health challenges in the past, including arthritis issues that affected his hands, something every guitarist fears. Yet neither musician has built a reputation on doing things the easy way. Throughout Rush's career, they became known for taking on musical challenges that many bands wouldn't even attempt. Simpler songs could have made life easier. They chose complexity instead. That same mentality appears to be driving this tour. But there is another factor that makes this situation even more fascinating. Unlike many classic rock tours, this isn't built around a collection of easy crowd pleasers. Fans aren't showing up expecting a greatest hits set filled with simplified arrangements. They're expecting Rush, and that means expectations are sky high. The question is no longer whether Geddy and Alex can perform. The question is whether they can keep delivering at the standard Rush fans demand for more than 50 shows. And that's where Anika Nilles enters the story. If Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson are carrying the weight of the tour, Anika Nilles may be carrying the weight of history. Think about what she's being asked to do. She's not simply replacing a drummer. She's stepping into the position once held by Neil Peart, a musician many fans consider one of the greatest drummers in rock history. Even Geddy himself described it as a near impossible role when announcing her selection. The pressure would be overwhelming for most musicians, but early signs suggest Rush may have found exactly the right person. Before the tour even began, Geddy and Alex spent months rehearsing with Nilles. Reports indicate that rehearsals started as far back as 2025, giving everyone time to build chemistry and prepare for the enormous challenge ahead. Then came opening night. Fans weren't just watching Rush return after 11 years. They were watching to see if Anika could handle the impossible expectations. By most accounts, she did far more than survive. Veteran drummer Mike Portnoy publicly praised her performance, calling her the perfect choice and celebrating how she nailed many of Neil's most famous moments while performing with confidence and joy. But here's the catch. Playing one incredible show isn't the real test. The 50-something tour currently stretches across roughly 88 shows through North America, South America, and Europe. That's months of travel, sound checks, late nights, and marathon performances. And unlike many drummers who can simplify parts to conserve energy, Rush's catalog doesn't leave much room for shortcuts. Every night becomes an endurance event, which leads to a surprising question most fans haven't considered. Could the band's greatest strength actually become its biggest challenge? As the tour rolls forward, the reality starts to set in. Even legendary musicians are not immune to time. Touring at this scale is a physical grind that doesn't show up in highlight reels. The stage is only the final product. What fans don't see is the strain building in the background, tight travel windows, repeated load-ins, constant sound adjustments, and the pressure to perform complex music without mistakes. For Geddy Lee, the biggest challenge is still his voice. Rush songs demand a rare combination of high-range vocals and precision bass playing at the same time. That alone would be difficult for a younger performer, but doing it night after night across a long tour pushes the limits of endurance. For Lifeson, the challenge is consistency. Guitar playing at this level isn't just about skill, it's about maintaining finger strength, timing, and control through fatigue. Even small physical issues can ripple through a performance when the music is this detailed. And then there's the hidden factor most fans don't think about: recovery. At 20 or 30, a musician can bounce back quickly after a show. At 70 plus, recovery becomes a strategy. Rest days matter more, nutrition matters more, even sleep quality can affect how sharp a performance feels on stage. This is where the 50-something tour becomes more than a reunion. It becomes a test of planning as much as performance. Because the moment one member struggles, the entire sound can shift. Rush's music is tightly locked together, drums, bass, and guitar all operating like gears in a machine. There is very little room for off nights, and that raises tension going into the second half of the tour. Can a band built on precision survive when human endurance starts to fade? As the 50-something tour moves deeper into its schedule, the strain starts to show in subtle ways that only careful fans notice. Not breakdowns, not drama, just the quiet reality of repetition. Setlists that feel tighter but more controlled, movements on stage that look slightly more deliberate, small pauses between songs that give just enough time to reset for what comes next. These are not signs of weakness, they are signs of survival on a long road. Because 50-plus shows isn't just a number, it's a cycle of physical and mental demand that repeats before the body fully resets. For Geddy Lee, every night is still a dual task, voice and instrument working at the same time, both requiring full concentration. Any slight fatigue can change the balance. A missed breath here, a rushed phrase there, tiny things that most audiences might never notice individually, but together they raise the difficulty over time. Lifeson, meanwhile, has the kind of role where precision matters more than volume. If his timing slips even slightly, the structure of a song can feel different. And when you're performing material that fans have studied for decades, nothing goes unnoticed. Anika Nilles brings stability, but also intensity. Her drumming keeps the engine running, but it also demands constant energy output every single night. Unlike studio work, there is no reset button on tour. Every performance draws from the same physical reserve, and that reserve is not infinite. This is where veteran tours often reach a turning point, not in a dramatic collapse, but in adaptation. Bands begin to adjust arrangements, pacing, and even stage movement just to maintain consistency through the long haul. But Rush has never been a band known for simplification. So the tension builds quietly. Do they adapt the music to survive the tour, or push the music to its original limits and trust the body to follow? That question hangs over every city they enter now. Because the real test isn't whether they can still play Rush, it's whether they can still be Rush when exhaustion becomes part of the set list. By the final stretch of the 50-something tour, the question changes shape entirely. It is no longer about possibility, it becomes about sustainability. Can Geddy Lee, Lifeson, and Anika Nilles survive 50-plus shows at this level? The honest answer is layered. Physically, the demand is extreme. Even in peak condition, a tour of this length pushes musicians into a constant cycle of performance and recovery, with very little margin for error. Age doesn't erase skill, but it does change recovery time, stamina, and resilience. Musically, however, something different emerges. Experienced performers often don't decline in artistry the way outsiders expect. Instead, they adapt. They learn efficiency. They conserve energy in ways that still preserve the emotional and technical core of the performance. The best nights don't disappear, they just become more carefully managed. For Geddy Lee, that means knowing exactly when to push his voice and when to lean into the groove. For Alex Lifeson, it means trusting muscle memory built over decades. For Anika Nilles, it means balancing precision with endurance, keeping the engine steady across an exhausting schedule. But even with all that experience, there is one truth that cannot be avoided. No tour of this scale is conquered alone. It is carried night after night by discipline, routine, and recovery, just as much as talent. So can they survive it? Yes, but not in the way fans imagine survival, not as invincible rock icons untouched by time, but as seasoned musicians who understand their limits, adjust when necessary, and still step on stage every night to deliver something close to the impossible. And maybe that is the real story of the 50-something tour. Not whether they can beat time, but how gracefully they can perform alongside it. Because in the end, survival on a tour like this isn't about lasting forever. It's about showing up again tomorrow and still sounding like Rush when the lights come on.